Folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show, and what an honor it is to connect with a cat who has been inspiring people to be themselves for many years on many different artistic levels. And, he started his career as a thespian in theater, performing for audiences and off Broadway and things like that. And then over time, once he started to acquire some cameras and specialty equipment, he realized that his real calling was actually in the moment, real time photography. And recently, a dear friend of mine, Dr. Rob Finefield, came along and started to. It reminded me actually of this story about my guest who took an iconic picture of the famed concert of Bangladesh, which has now been signed by all the musicians who contributed to the music and the devotion and the love of that day. And it is our hope that through promotion and through just sort of a cohesive unit of enlightenment and information, we can wind up using the proceeds of the painting to support a very notable food bank in the Los Angeles area. And I couldn't be more proud to be part of the project. Cliff Lipson, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Jake Feinberg, thank you for that great introduction and the sort of rolling out what we're looking to do here in terms of promoting the food bank. But just want to make a couple of
absolutely
slight corrections. Unfortunately, it is not signed by all the participants. It is not, but it's signed by five of the 8.
I should be a little bit, because Ravi and George passed away, and
right.
And then who's the other cat that I'm missing? That
Jesse Ed Davis.
Well, Jesse Ed's gone too. Yeah.
Yeah, Jesse Ed Davis, George, and Billy Preston.
So it's Preston and Ravi too, and Ali Akbar Khan. Anyway, so it's been signed by Clapton, Keltner, Leon, Klaus, and who's the other cat I'm missing now?
Ringo.
Thank you.
Yes.
Cliff, I just wanted to ask you, stepping back for a minute, I mean, I realized that a lot of your photography work was done, headshots, actors and all different types of things. But going back to that period of time, late 60s, early 70s, can you just talk about how music dictated our culture at that time?
How it dictated our culture. I think it was something that was speaking to our generation then, with music that wasn't speaking as of yet. I mean, the great beginnings of rock and roll with Chuck Berry and and I'm trying to just throw out names. I don't know, you're probably better off doing that than I am. Bill Haley and the Comets. But there was, when the Beatles hit the scene mid 60s, I think it just completely overhauled how the youth of this country listened to music, how they appreciated music, how they appreciated the words and the thoughts and the intent. And I think it was a tremendous beginning, and I was thrilled to be a part of it.
Well, you know what? I ask you because, in today, I mean, I just talked to a lot of cats over the last 11 years, and I wasn't born during that time. I was born in 78, but I just, there was a social consciousness, especially in jazz. There was there was something attached to the music that was at a higher spiritual plane. That's not the case today, and a lot of that has to do with the type of music that is being produced, the sort of lack of authenticity or lack of humanity within the music on a larger scale. I just wonder if you could talk about, for you, what the significance of music has meant to you over the years, and and ultimately, like, yeah, the Vietnam War was going on. There were a lot of different types of movements and things like that, but that how big a music fan? How much did it dictate your life?
I was a huge music fan at that time, and I was into when the Beatles hit the scene in December of '64. At least that's when I first heard "I Want to Hold Your Hand." It was such a revelation to those who were listening to music, because prior to that, it was Peter, Paul, and Mary. It was folk tunes.
Yeah, it was like Doggy in the Window and stuff,
Well, yeah, I mean, Dylan was
right.
certainly on the scene, but he was slowly breaking through because of the protest movements that began with civil rights, with the protest with the Vietnam War. But and so we were listening to, other than the songs that were popular, and the songs that were popular, it was a show on television called Your Hit Parade, and every week they do the top 10 tunes, and they do sort of little vignettes to go along with the tune, and those were the top 10 tunes of the time. I'm trying to figure out when that, probably late 50s, that show,
sure.
Early 60s. I really don't know offhand. But in terms of, it was, for me, it dictated my life, because every week I put away money to go to either EJ Corvettes, which no longer exists because they had the best record.
Dude, wait, hold on. Was that in New York City?
Yeah, New York City.
That is so. Wait, I've never heard of that record store before.
It was sort of a lower end kind of Macy's.
I love this. That's exactly my wheelhouse.
They had albums. The only two places really to get music, to get LPs or 45s, was EJ Corvettes and Sam Goody's.
Absolutely.
Long before Tower Records, and then there was, I think Goody's was 47th in Broadway, 48th in Broadway, somewhere around there. And then there was record stores slowly open up. And then, of course, there was Tower. I don't remember. Tower was more West Coast at the time.
Absolutely. And Tower didn't really birth until like the early 70s. And that was on the, I know you are not a musician, but did you know that store, Manny's Music?
Yeah, in New York.
Yeah, legendary store. I mean, all the cats were going there. Yeah,
it was on Manny's was on 47th, just east of Broadway.
I mean, every band would go in there. A lot of great, not a lot of. I don't think they sold vinyl, but a lot of instruments. I mean, it's just a mat. No. I mean, so you continue. You'd save your money. You'd go into the
go in and buy one album a week. That was it. One album a week. Whether it was rock and roll, whether it was classical, whether it was jazz. I mean, the classical label was Deutsche Grammophon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so it was all these incredible concerts. And when I was first in New York, when I was going to school, I worked as selling bonbons and Good and Plenty at Carnegie Hall, and then became an usher. So I'm listening to all these concerts live, this incredible music. And the closest thing that Carnegie Hall ever had to rock and roll was the Mamas and the Papas. But I think the Beatles did do Carnegie Hall, but that was before I was working there.
Right. It was.
So anyway, it was about, with classical music, it was about just filling up my collection as much as I could, and back then, and I still have that with me. I just schlepped that from New York.
I love it, dude. Wait, hold on. Were you? I really want to believe that you were also trekking down to the Gaslight to see Hugh Romney, Wavy Gravy, Ramblin' Jack. Were you into the folk scene, or were you kind of a classical cat?
No, I was into the folk scene, the popular folk. I was working down in the Village.
Wow.
At the Circle in the Square Theater.
Holy cow! Wait, you were doing acting there?
No, I was going to school then, but that was my first job in New York as a part-time usher, ticket taker, and floor mopper. And
I love this.
And I made $15 a week. So and I got free meals in between shows on the matinees. So how could you go wrong?
15 back then for a week. No, it's not. So
it was a weekend basically. It wasn't a full week. But yeah. Anyway.
So you would go to the Village Gate, or you'd be going to see folk acts.
Yeah. Or where was let's see, the Village Gate, the Vanguard. There was I'm trying to think what.
Oh, Gertie's Folk City.
Yeah, that I don't think I ever went to Gertie's Folk City, but I know that that at one time Tiny Tim was a barker outside one of the clubs. I don't remember whether it was Cafe Wah or.
Oh, that's it might have been. He was just being he was busking on the street at that time.
Yeah, he was hawking for people to come in.
Oh, this is classic.
And see the shows. But, it's, it was also, even though it seemed inexpensive then to get a ticket, it wasn't inexpensive to us who were starving students.
Absolutely not. I mean, so it's fair to say that you're, because what was so iconic about at least the Gaslight is just, even though, I used to hold it as a badge of honor, but obviously the world caved in on him. I did 2 separate interviews about his career and his involvement with the musicians with Bill Cosby. And Cosby started at the Gaslight. But they'd have like Coleman Hawkins opening for Wavy Gravy. This is the most unbelievable smorgasbord of entertainment, and to me it was a golden era of. And I know there was a lot of rough stuff going on, and I know people were starving to death, and I know that there was, you were ensconced in sort of the heavy civil rights movement, but it was before Martin Luther King got assassinated. It was before. To me, like there was this. Coltrane passed away later. Robert Kennedy. It was one after the other, but there was this sort of burgeoning sort of. I don't know. I just wanted to talk to you about sort of that ability to be inspired. You have a great quote, the Salvador Dali quote that I just love so much. An artist is not one who is inspired, but one who can inspire others. And I feel like that is exactly what I've been trying to do, at least the last few years, especially when I go on the road and I'm in front of the band. And I realize that the collective consciousness, it's not just about the band going there. It's about the audience going there as well, if not more, and bringing that fanaticism to the bandstand. And I just feel like have you been kind of fanatical your whole life in some way, in a good way,
Yeah. Well, it's. I think fanatical. I'd use the word passionate over.
Yeah, I know. Fanatical has gotten. I love being a fanatic. I'm with you.
Being fanatical has got a bad rap.
It does. Yeah. So you're passionate. You've been. Where did you conjure up passion for the unsung, for the artist? Where do you think that came from in your lineage?
You know what? I don't know, but I know that, growing up as a kid, my parents were both very much into the arts in terms of music and dance and theater. And so as kids, we were exposed to it. But I don't know whether my desire to be an actor came from the fact that I couldn't do anything else and thought, okay, this will be good. Or actually, I did a show in high school, and that was sort of the quote-unquote cliche of being bitten by the bug.
Sure.
But later on, I learned that both my parents were frustrated performers. So when I said, look, I'm not going to college, I'm going to New York and go to an acting school, and I'm going to be a professional actor, they didn't say no.
They were rooting for you.
Yeah, they were, in a way. So
what? Tell me a little bit about. I mean, I'm always curious about. I mean, I know. I mean, you did more than just dip your toe in the water with acting. You did quite a bit. When it came to having like like were there bands that were in the pit with you? I mean, can you talk about the live? Well, some of the because I mean, to me, like it's almost too hard to imagine, but there'd be like. And I'm not saying this was you, but like, for, off Broadway Hair or, they'd have like a quartet, like keyboard, electric bass. I mean, it was like the funkiest. I just wanted you to talk a little bit about the pit musicians.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I did Hair on Broadway. That was my first.
You did Hair on Broadway?
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't
my.
do it. Yeah. I didn't do it down at the Public, which is. Hair was the first show to open the Public Theater ever.
Wow.
So, and then when it closed there, it moved up. I think it moved to, they found, I don't think this was right away. It wasn't like they went to Broadway immediately. They were at the Cheetah, which was a club on Broadway.
Yeah, kind of rings a bell, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating.
So eventually they got to Broadway, and when I came to the show about 8-9 months after it had opened on Broadway, so this is like March of '69. The band were these. Let me see how many members they were on a flatbed truck.
I love this. Go ahead. This is it.
On the left side of the stage. Charlie Brown was the lead guitarist. He stood in the well between the raised deck and the flatbed truck.
Dude, I am obsessed with Charlie Brown, dude. He's still with us, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Dude, I cannot believe you just dropped. Dude, he was playing electrified guitar?
He was playing acoustic and electric guitar.
Oh my God. Go ahead, continue.
And matter of fact, one of the most moving things from the show was it was just acoustic guitar and two voices. What a piece of work is man!
Oh my God!
Which is just exquisite.
Holy cow!
I'm trying to think. Idris Muhammad was the.
I was just gonna ask you about. I'm like, he's not gonna know who Idris. And Idris Muhammad was crushing Hair, dude. He was on fire.
Yeah, and Idris is. What was his name before he became a Muslim?
Yeah, no. Give me a minute.
Was it Morris? Was his last name Morris?
You just give me once. It's
okay.
I'm blanking right now. You got me on. You got me on the roll right now. I mean, they were on you're telling me it was a flat bet. So it was Charlie Brown, Muhammad. Who else?
Jimmy Lewis on bass.
Oh my God, dude! Jimmy Lewis, dude.
Yeah.
Was he playing electric bass or upright?
Yeah, he was playing fretless electric bass.
Oh my God, this is sick.
All right. And then who was the horn player? Eddie. God, I don't remember his last name. I'm sure it's somewhere. You can look up the original musicians.
Was he playing saxophone?
No, he was playing trumpet.
All right, I'm going to find out about that immediately.
I think he was playing brass, but I think he only played trumpet. I don't think he played sax. There was a rhythm guitarist, Al Fontaine. Was the rhythm guitarist. Al Fontaine. And I think that was it in terms of, there was one other cat who must have played, I don't know whether he played other brass or he played woodwinds. I'm not sure. But he's the only one I can picture, sort of salt and pepper hair and glasses and a smaller frame guy, but I don't recall his name. And I think that was it. And the key was, talk about the passion, Jake.
Yep, hit it.
If you could get the band to laugh at something you did or said, you were golden, because they'd been sitting there and hearing the same stuff every night.
Oh my God, I freaking love this, dude. Oh man, so that did you wind up? How did you wind up getting the gig? Like getting into the gig?
Okay. I'll make this as quick as
Yeah,
possible.
sure.
I had auditioned for the show, and I had a final callback, and I was out of town, and I could not make the final callback. I had worked with, I'd worked up at the Woodstock Playhouse as an actor before that time.
You mean in the town of Woodstock?
Yeah.
By the way, Idris's name, Leo Morris.
Leo Morris, right? Yes,
That's
I knew
it.
It was Morris because his wife was. I think his wife's first name was Deanna, and she was in the show.
Oh my
Anyway,
God. Go ahead.
So I got in touch with the stage manager, and I said, "Look, I can't. I'm out of town. I can't be back for the callback for the final." He said, "Well, look," I said, "and I'm going out on the road with a bus and truck tour of a show." He said, "Well, look, give me your itinerary, and if there's an opening, we'll bring you in." And I thought, okay, great. So I gave him my itinerary, and most of it was one-night stands. It was a couple of weeks here, a couple of weeks there, but I was in Jackson, Mississippi, and I got a phone call from the late Fred Reinglass, who was the stage manager. And Fred said, "How soon can you be here?" He said, "We've got an opening for a swing, which is a person who covers all the male roles in the tribe, not the lead,
Sure,
all the ensemble." So I said, "I got to get out of I had a 6-month contract. I said, I got to get out of my contract early." And I called Shirley Rich. I don't know whether Shirley's still with us or not, but she was Hal Prince's casting person. She cast me in the show, and I called her at home. I don't know how I got her phone number and how I got so bold. Who the hell knows? And I said, "Shirley, I just got an offer to come into the cast of Hair on Broadway." And she said, she said, "How soon do you need to leave?" I said, 2 weeks, but I've got still another month on my contract. She said to me, "I've never prevented anyone from moving up in their career. Consider it done."
Oh, man.
I know. So I called Fred back, and I said, "I'll be there in 2 weeks." And in 2 weeks, I was back in New York and rehearsing during the day and watching the show at night. And then after a week, I went into the show. And that was my first Broadway show.
I mean, I'm like, in a lot of ways, I just feel that my show, a lot of it is unscripted. There's a lot of spontaneous improvisation. Did some of those parts, just so you could keep yourself inspired to a degree, did you learn to improvise in an acting kind of way at that time? I know you couldn't go off the deep end and throw everybody off, but I mean, were there opportunities for you to sort of learn to find your own voice and, for lack of a better word, wing it occasionally?
On occasion, yes. We were allowed to be creative. Let's put it that way.
You have an example of some memory you have?
An example is there is a scene in the show before the quote unquote Claude's trip, and where the cast did takeoffs on well-known commercials. Never say the word pot or marijuana, or never use, say, grass or weed, but not say, and would do parodies on existing commercials. And we were allowed to create them, just as long as it was within the construct of what that particular scene was. And so it was. There was an ad on television for Glad
trash bags.
Yeah. Stealing, but whatever they're called, freezer bags, refrigerator bags, right?
Sure.
So the lead-in was, instead of man from Glad, it was man from bad, dealer and buyer in trouble. And Ted Lange, who was in the show at the time, who's now doing the reboot of The Love Boat, Ted Lange would swing in from the rope with a cape on as the man from Bad.
Oh, man.
And then interact and say, what have you been keeping your whatever it is, your grass in, whatever we say. And he said, I'm keeping it in this foil. He said, this foil, no, you've got to use a baggie.
Yeah.
So that was the, don't wrap it, bag it in bad. We were allowed to just do silly things like that.
Well, I mean, that's a monumental. How, like, do you feel like, how many like after that is it similar to on the acting side, like where, I mean, I've interviewed so many cats that were part of the studio scenes in New York. They'd be at Jim and Andy's, hanging out, and then they'd get calls to do jingles and commercials. But, a lot of them were hesitant to go on tour, let's say, with a big act or something because they might lose their space as a studio shark. And I just wonder,
Right.
Once you got embedded into that scene, were you just in for the next few years? Did you find yourself just getting more and more opportunities to act?
I did
At a high level. You weren't in I'm not saying you weren't going to Mississippi anymore. You were primarily based in New York.
No, I wasn't going to Mississippi anymore. No. No, with Hair, I think I did the show initially for about 9 months or so, and then I got an offer to replace an actor actually with whom I'd done Hair. And he and his writing partner wrote an off-Broadway musical that they were starring in, and he and his partner were planning to leave, his writing partner were planning to leave the show. And he called me and he said, look, of all the people I know in this business, he said to me, which is a very nice compliment, he said, you're much more suited for this role than I am. So why don't you come in and meet the director, because I'm leaving the show, and come in and do the show. Meet him, you don't have to audition. I mean, if they ask you to sing, you'll sing. If they ask you to read, you'll read. But for the most part, it's yours if you want it.
Wow.
So I was doing, in Hair, I wasn't doing any of the leads. I was in the tribe and doing all kinds of bits and pieces, which was really a lot of fun and very creative and could be different every night depending on what other bits you were understudying. And so this was a co-lead role of this off-Broadway show. And the other actor who was coming in to replace Peter's writing partner was Barry Bostwick.
Wow.
So I left and went to do this show off-Broadway. In the meantime, I had done a commercial for a skin cream as a cast member of Hair. So I had that income. So I didn't, it was like the off-Broadway money was, I'll tell you.
Wait, hold on. It was a TV commercial or radio commercial?
TV commercial. Yeah, TV
commercial. This is classic. And also, like, I mean, you must have been making some decent bread with Hair, though.
Or at the decent bread. Okay.
I mean, I didn't say a lot of money. I said decent. Better.
Decent. Well,
yeah.
At the time and where what the cost of living was.
Absolutely.
I guess, but
yeah.
Broadway Actors Equity Broadway minimum when I joined here was $135 a week.
Wow, that's not a lot.
No. And then you could get add-on stuff depending on what other bits you covered.
Exactly. I was going to say, do you get like double scale if you did like multiple understudy parts, or if you were doing?
You didn't get double scale, but you got extra money for doing it. You got extra money for.
It's great. I mean, dude, because you could make your rent, and I don't know where you were living, but I mean, you could get ahead. You really could get ahead.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had a studio apartment with an alcove, very big back in those days. An alcove.
I love alcoves, dude.
Anyway, I had a studio apartment on 8th Avenue between 13th and 14th at the top of Greenwich Avenue.
Unbelievable, dude. All the cats lived on Gil Evans lived down. All the cats lived on that in the west side of New York. That's unbelievable.
And so the building, actually, my wife and I were just in New York last month, and the facade of the building is still there. The facade has changed. But the building is still there, and it was a third floor walk up, and it was $70 a month.
That is so freaking amazingly great, man. People cared about the humanity at that time. I mean, it's just, I don't want to veer off, but it's just, I mean, compared to the squalor that you see in every major city now, it's just like, not to say that there weren't homeless people before, but man, I mean, it just seemed a little bit more. Well, you could really, I guess that was the point, is that looking back in hindsight, maybe at the time it didn't seem like that, but I think when I talked to the musicians a lot too, because they were the same way. I mean, guys like Randy Brecker or people that were ensconced in the studio scene in New York, I mean, they'd be living in lofts for 120 a month, and they could make that in 1 week and then really focus on the art itself, not the pressure of trying to just survive, but they could really focus on the art itself. And I wonder with you, not that you were putting away a life savings or anything, but did you, looking back on it, were you able to go full force into your creative, muse, so to speak, because you didn't have to be fretting about how you were going to pay the bills?
That's a great question, Jake. It's because when I left Hair and went to do this off-Broadway show, I think my salary was cut in half. I think off-Broadway minimum was $75 a week. But it was a co-starring role, and I was able to get an agent out of it, have come and see me. I think I did a couple other commercials and print ad jobs because I had long hair, and really at that
I need photos of you at that time, dude.
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I have photos. I think I have a copy of the commercial that I did.
Oh dear, the skin commercial.
The skin.
Oh
skin
my
cream
God,
commercial.
yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. So you could actually take a less paying gig and get more exposure. You had an agent, and that to me, and so there you go. And then what else? What transpired from the off Broadway gig?
Well, off Broadway. Here's the deal: is that show closed, and I contacted the production staff at Hair, and I said my show is closing, and they said come back. We'll have an opening for you.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like, I don't know what this is like. This doesn't sound real. This doesn't sound real.
I know, but it's true. And here was another time for Broadway. It was a time when you could do a show for 6 months, and then you'd be rehearsing that one during the day,
right?
Then a new one during the day, and still doing that one at night,
right?
I did that with not with Hair, but I did with the show prior to Hair, where I was working up in Connecticut and commuting for the last week in order to be at rehearsals during the day. And then they let me out early and I drive back up to do the show at night. And when I did Superstar, the late Tom O'Horgan pirated about a half a dozen of us from Hair when it was still running and it didn't close. I don't know whether there was talk about it closing, but to open a show on Broadway, to be in the original cast of a show on Broadway was something I think everybody who's looking to do that scene wants. So when O'Horgan came to us and said, look, I want to bring you guys over to do this Jesus Christ Superstar. And I don't think anybody said no. So we were rehearsing Superstar down at the Ukrainian Hall on 8th Street during the day, and then doing the show at night. And they would, we had matinees on Wednesdays and Saturdays. They would let us out to do the matinees.
It just popped into my head. Did you know that character Moondog?
Oh God, yes.
Please, because he used to stand on like 51st Street. I mean, that dude. Yeah, did you? I mean, tell me about. I mean, because I feel like he should have been on Broadway. That guy was such a wizard, man.
I used to go past him almost every day.
That is, dude. I am loving this. This is the most insane life by far. And this is just in this. You would say this is like what is this, late 60s at this point? Where are we at?
This is now Superstar opened October 12th. 11th or 12th, 1971.
Whoa! So that's, I mean, that's the. So it wasn't that the same year that the concert for Bangladesh happened, or is it?
Yes, right, and that was before I did Superstar. I was doing Hair on Broadway, and actually a friend of mine I just recently saw in New York, Merle Frymark, who has her own PR firm now. She was working for the PR firm for hair. Name escapes me at the moment. If I'm pressed, I can remember it. But she was working for them, and one night, she said, she got on the PA before a show. We were getting ready to do the show, and she said, I've got 8 pairs of tickets or 6 pairs of tickets for the Sunday matinee of the concert for Bangladesh.
Oh.
I jumped over 4 people in my dressing room, and I got down and got the first 2 tickets.
Oh, my gosh.
18th row on the floor, first and second off the aisle.
No, that is so. So wait, you had not yet even been close to transitioning out of acting at that point. I mean, you were just when
I went on the road before Hair with it was a bus and truck of Fiddler on the Roof. The farthest west I'd been as a kid was Chicago, and I had never traveled around the country, so I wanted to document it. So I got a dopey camera, and I started taking pictures. There was a guy in the company who was who was an amateur, and he showed me a couple things. This camera was a fixed lens.
Yep.
You couldn't take the lens head, and it had a light meter inside. Was a little needle that would go back and forth. And that's some of my best photos were taken with that camera.
So I want to be clear. I mean, obviously, everybody. You're right. The Beatles, because of their originality of songwriting, and because they were incredibly gifted, but people would consider them skiffle players. They didn't come out of the academy at all. They were
Right.
self-taught, and like. So they definitely changed the game. How hip were you to the world of Indian raga music, like Ali Akbar Khan? I don't think I realized that he and Ravi opened the show that matinee. Were you had you seen Ravi at Monterey Pop or anything, or was that on your
Ravi Shankar, Ali Akbar Khan. It was one of them. I have photos of them.
Dude, those photos that's incredible stuff too. Because Ravi is very well known. Ali Akbar Khan opened a school in Marin County. He could have easily gone on and toured the world and become a star. And his whole philosophy was like, I just want to give back. I want to pass the knowledge on. All those guys were like that. I mean, it was unbelievable. I can't believe you have photos of. That's epic stuff. I did not realize that they opened that show.
Yeah, they opened the show, and it was Ravi Shankar who brought the whole plight of Bangladesh to George. And
right.
That's what precipitated that. This is the granddaddy of all the benefit concerts. I was not into it prior. I think as with Moondog, I have Moondog's album.
You have the original copy of that?
Yes.
Are you kidding me, Lipson? This is unreal. Dude, I cannot. He did a couple. Man, dude, that man. Dude, I would do anything to catch a hang with that guy, man. Anything.
I don't think he's on the planet
No,
anymore.
he's long gone. I mean, dude. So you had Moondog. I mean, I don't think I'd be hip. I don't think I would have been into. Maybe I'd be wrong, but I mean, at the time, Wesleyan was using their college student fund to bring in all these different Indian sitar and sarod players. I mean, the Beatles, again, had everything to do with bringing that music to the West.
Yeah, and that's the same with me. I mean, listening to George, the first time they used sitar.
Absolutely.
I was listening to the Beatles, and that's what sort of inspired me. I think somewhere in my archives I have a Ravi Shankar album, but primarily it was the concert. And in terms of the concert, back in the day, very few people had cameras that could take pictures of concerts, except professionals. And they never handcuffed you going into a concert, bringing in professional looking cameras anyway.
That is because today you'd have to they would be confiscated or taken away.
Yeah, of course you couldn't bring it in. There's you're barely allowed to bring in your phone.
Dude, the phone is amazing. You're damn right. There's the pat downs are intense. But anyway, back then, I'm surprised they even let you do that because. That's. I mean, you were 18th row, man. I mean, you were like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, on the aisle. And here's the killer of that. I had a Super 8mm Canon camera, which I brought in. I put on a tripod next to me in the aisle, and no sound. There was no sound. And Kodak used to make these 50-foot cassettes. They could just, instead of having to thread a camera, you just stick it in and close the door of the camera and let it run for 50 feet. I've got 400 feet of movie film from the concert to Bangladesh.
What? Oh my God! It came out pretty good too, or you said it's
yeah.
And it's just film; it's not audio.
Yeah, there's no audio. It's just film.
Well, somebody can sync that audio with it. That's pretty classic, man.
I mean, you can loop. You could loop stuff into it now. Who knows? But anyway, and the thing is, because I wasn't a professional photographer then. I was a decent amateur at the time. I didn't shoot the entire concert. I was really into the concert and listening to music. And the thing about photography, at least for me, that I've found, Jake, is that when you put that camera up to your eye, you remove yourself emotionally because you're looking at so many other things through the lens.
Explain. This is so fat. That's the most profound statement because I got to be honest with you. In today's world, I mean, because I do the podcast, but I also just came off the road and I do a lot of videoing, especially in the moment, live when the band is peaking. And I fundamentally, with new media, social media today, I think I love that you didn't have the distractions of that back then. To me, that was the key to what you just said. What did you say that again? What you just say? You were trying to block out your emotion?
When you put up that camera in front of your face, you remove yourself emotionally from the moment because your thought is, I'm going to capture this moment.
Right.
So to experience the moment, you got to experience it. This is just me. It's just my vision. I don't think anybody else piped this one into me. But the example is when I was I'm a long-suffering Mets fan. Especially, and this year is very hard.
I tell you, I thought they were really going to make a run, dude. They just, but anyway. Typically, I'm a Tiger fan, so don't worry about it, man.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. So when I was at the seventh game of the World Series in 1986 when the Mets won.
Are you, dude? Bruce Hurst, Sid Fernandez saved that game, dude. I was like 8 years old, man. I was I was up in Mohonk and at game 6 and my dad's like I passed out and my dad was listening like to this little transistor radio trying to be quiet in the bathroom and when the ball went through Buckner's leg the entire Mohonk the whole place just was shaking. Go ahead, continue. Yeah.
I was at that game too with my then girlfriend.
Oh my God, you were at that. Did you stay? Did you stay to the end?
If you are not a true baseball fan,
dude, I'm with you 100. To me it was just I think you're the first person I've ever met that was at that game.
Well, at one moment we were all right. I shared a box with 3 other guys at Shea for a couple of years, and my wife Valerie is an actress and singer with a serious set of pipes.
Right.
Actually, she's doing a concert this Saturday in Rancho Mirage at an outdoor amphitheater.
Beautiful.
Her one-woman show. Anyway, so I traded my one good seat for Game 6 for 2 of the alternate seats that we had access to buy in left field. In like the second...
In the pavilion?
Second pavilion. Left field.
Oh my God, dude! That's where Ray Knight hit that homer in Game 7, and there was just beer flying everywhere, dude. I cannot believe this.
So that game, we're up there, and Val had not only had she sung the anthem at Shea that year, she also
What?
she had learned the rotation. Oh yeah, she sung the anthem at Shea a couple of times.
Oh my! And that was just the most amazing. Continue, please. Yeah.
Camden Yards. Anyway.
Wow.
So we looked at each other and said, it's been a great season, and thanks to you, you've become a fan. And over her shoulder, I'm looking. This is the bottom of the seventh.
Okay.
The bottom of the ninth, and we look over, and on Diamond Vision, they flash, "Congratulations, world champion Boston Red Sox."
Bottom 10. Bottom 10. Yeah.
Bottom 10.
Yeah, but are you kidding? That is psychedelic, dude. That is totally psychedelic, dude.
And then they pulled it off and won. And then Sunday was rained out, and then Monday I went to the game, and I took my camera with a long lens.
Oh no.
So when they won, when Jesse threw the last pitch and he threw his glove up in the air, I waited so I could celebrate that moment. And then I picked up my camera and started shooting. So I have shots of them
what did you
on
get?
The mound
Oh
tipping
my!
Over, and Davey is running out halfway between the dugout and the mound in the photo.
You just made my year, dude. That's one of the. I mean, it was that whole the Astro series, all the debauch. The Astro series, Billy Hatcher. It was going 16 innings or whatever. I mean, it's just really funny because I was watching, hoping the Yankees would choke and lose to Cleveland yesterday, and I'm listening to Bob Costas reliving that whole Sid Fernandez thing because they fell behind 3-0 in Game 7, and Darling got taken out, and Sid saved the day, man, and then Ray Knight hit that homer. I mean, it was if I was really I was a kind of a Met fan, but that. Anyway, somehow we got sidetracked there.
I know.
But this year the Mets lost. You said you were a little bit forlorn about that.
Well, they lost because they didn't have the fire down the stretch that they'd had earlier.
They ran out of gas. Yeah, they're a fun team, but somehow that was going to tie into some other.
It was tied. How this tied in was about being able to. Once you have the camera up to your face, you step away emotionally. So that's what I'm saying. You
waited that moment to celebrate Jesse threw the glove in the air, but once you put the camera up to your eye, that was it.
I was now documenting the moment.
Got it.
That's where this led to. Sorry, we went on.
No, that's freaking amazing. I mean, so as it relates to the concert for Bangladesh, I want to go back. Did you see the Beatles live when they came to the States ever?
Never.
So you were getting off on their records, and then obviously, you were. Can you just talk a little bit about paint the picture for the audience a little bit about, because the photo that I've seen a couple times, it's long and thin. It's one of those cool ones. I love those. How did you wind up getting that shot?
Okay, that shot is done I think it's While My Guitar Gently Weeps. I think that's the tune that was being played. But what I did was I shot this as close to sequence as possible. And it's sort of like I did the pan from where I was. And then we stitched those images together, but it was exactly the way the stage looked, and we just pieced it together. Otherwise, they'd be like tiny in the screen from where
I love how. So, can you talk about the process when you? I'm not obviously a photographer guru or anything, but like when you talk about putting the different pieces together, how tedious was that process? Because that photo is money, man. I love that photo.
The thing is that it's that on the contact sheet with these three images, that's pretty much exactly what it looks like. It's just that maybe a little bit of the negative is overlapped.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, for instance, it's a shot of, in the frame, it's a shot of Billy and Klaus, and then Jesse Ed with Ringo, George, and then Jim Keltner, Eric, and Leon.
Right.
So it's like maybe on the contact sheet, that's what it looks like. It's three together. And when I looked at it, I said, this could be very easily done. And this was long before, digital, about taking these three negatives and putting them together as the stage.
I'm just blown away. Did you wind up staying for both shows or just the afternoon?
No, just the afternoon show.
And so talk about that in general, like the performance. I know you were focused on getting content and stuff, but when you were in the moment, the Jesse Orozco throwing the glove in the air kind of analogy,
Right.
Talk a little bit about, did you feel like it was kind of a formula trip? Were they going for it? I mean, just for me, I've interviewed guys that were from the show. I can't say I'm that well versed in the actual content of the show itself. Can you talk?
Mm-hmm.
You talk a little bit about like just the experience. For instance, like I gather there were a bunch of seats. You were at the 18th row, but
Right.
was there people up there? Sort of, was there an opportunity to dance? I mean, can you just talk a little bit about the music itself?
No, I don't recall anybody dancing. Maybe in the aisles, but maybe behind where we were. But for most part, they had to keep that area clear. And also, in the quote unquote pit area was where the cameras were. If you look at the photo and you see there's arcs of black, and
I see that.
People,
yeah, totally.
There are camera crews and bodies there, and so that's what creates that sort of roller coaster look in the foreground of that shot. I just shot it. I wasn't looking to be creative at that point. I just wanted to capture these guys playing. And I've got mostly concentrating on George Harrison, primarily the other photos I have. But when Dylan walked out, we didn't know that no one knew that he was going to be on stage. I don't think even Harrison knew.
Wow.
According to
Keltner.
to Jim Keltner.
Yeah.
They knew he was in town, but they didn't know he was going to make it there or not. And then when Harrison introduced him and Dylan walks out with a guitar in his hands, the roof of Madison Square Garden blew off.
This is mind blowing.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, actually, I mean, I have to go back and look at the transcription, but I think it's very possible that around that same time, that was the first opportunity that Keltner and Jesse Ed worked with Dylan on the soundtrack. I forget 71. It could have been around that same time. That is remarkable stuff. And so he came out and just started belting out his own tunes. If nobody knew he was, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know whether they did songs together first and then Dylan sang solo, but I have solo shots of Dylan. I have a shot of Harrison and Dylan, and it looks like they're tuning. They're looking at what chords they're playing.
Probably they're feeling their way through because this was completely spontaneous.
Yeah, they haven't even begun to play.
Wow.
And then there are, because Leon joined them, and I'm not sure if Ringo joined them. I'd have to look through my contact sheets to see what kind of order. But I know I've got. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Hang on. I'll walk with me.
No, dude, we can edit it. It's fine. Take your time.
Okay.
Well, I was gonna say like that. So how it was approximately like 2.5 hours that matinee? How long was that show?
That's my guess. I don't know because I don't know how long Ravi Shankar
and Ali Akbar. Yeah, they played
like half an hour maybe.
And then they came on, the unit came on, and then Dylan came on for a couple of encores maybe at the end.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm looking at a solo shot of Dylan. with playing harmonica while he's playing guitar. Ringo on tambourine, George on guitar, on electric, Dylan on acoustic, and Leon is on guitar. I think Leon's on bass. I think.
Really?
Yeah. And then there's the two shot of Dylan and Harrison, and then there's a shot of these are just the ones that are on my wall with George playing electric guitar, and in the background Jesse Ed, Klaus, and Jim Keltner. You can see Ringo slightly, but it's mostly they're muted because of the light that's on George. And then there's one with George, and Ringo is behind him off his shoulder in profile, and Jesse Ed is, you can make out his face, but there's the light that's on Harrison is spilling off onto Jesse Ed, and it's not lighting his face. But those are the ones that I have printed that are on my wall.
I just want you to talk a little bit about. I talked to Dr. Feinfield a couple of days ago. You were at the dinner with Keltner when you showed him these prints for the first time?
Yes.
I mean, can you talk about what made him so excited about these? Because obviously you said there was a huge amount of press in the pit, but it was for syndicated, shows or what, I mean, what was it about the angle you took? Can you talk a little bit about what I'm trying to get at is the idea of somebody who's interested in possibly acquiring this piece. What made it unique to Keltner?
It's the only photo that everybody's in the shot.
Are you kidding? The only photo ever
that I'm aware of.
Oh boy.
That I'm aware of. I can't say that I know that for sure, but I'm aware of. The other shooters were, first of all, I know that there was photography that was done during performance that was lost.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know where other photos from that evening that I've seen, and I don't know where they came from. I know that I don't know whether Peter Brown is still living, but Peter Brown, who was with the Beatles and Abbey Road, Peter was Stigwood's right-hand person in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And Peter was heavily involved with Superstar. And Peter also knew that I had been at the concert. He knew I had photos. And he approached me and he said, look, they've lost the photos. They were looking for photos to promote the movie of the concert for Bangladesh.
Right.
Me knowing nothing about this, I sold 3 or 4 negatives to the promo staff, whoever it was. And I've seen those photos without any photo credit. So that's being naive to what.
Well, I also, man, I mean, at the end of the day, we got to give it all away anyway, man. Right. It's all good,
So anyway,
let me ask you something. Your photos, though, because the pit photos they were really close to the stage and maybe looking up, and you had a depth shot, where you could get the whole crew.
Yeah. Yeah, at one point, the close shots that I have of Dylan and Harrison together, and of Dylan, I went flying down to the end of the section where we were, and I was shooting until one of the security people kind of shooed me back to keep the aisle clear.
I'm wondering. I'm glad that existed then. It just sounds like a free for all because
it wasn't.
Yeah, I get it.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was. There was plenty of security, but it wasn't the same kind of mania then that it is now.
I'm with you, man. Mania is the right word.
We've seen McCartney several times in concert. My brother is very good friends with Abe Laboriel Jr. and his
What's so it just warms my heart because Abe Laboriel Sr. is like a dear uncle to me, dude. I love that. Yeah, I mean he's one of my favorites, dude.
Abe is just phenomenal.
I mean he's a mensch in Jewish terms.
Yeah,
he's
truly a mensch. Anyway, so when I went to see Doc Rock,
right,
as a patient,
Doc Rock,
he was talking about his different organizations that he is involved with in terms of, and I said, well, this is how I give back. I said, if you ever need a photographer for one of your things, that's how I give back.
I love it.
I'll do it. I'll do it free of charge, whatever my cost is, that's my cost. But otherwise, my time is. So I handed him my card, and on my business card is the shot of Dylan and Harrison.
No way. So I just want to be clear. You showed up as a patient to Doc Rock.
Right.
But then you give him the. How long ago was this?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I don't do well with past years.
No, I'm just wondering. Like, I mean, this was. You would say it's been like a couple decades, or how long is your?
No. Yeah. No, I probably maybe about 10 years.
Okay,
I don't know.
That's cool.
We could call him his office and look at the charts.
So he saw the card and freaked out?
Yeah. He said, did you take this? And I said, my ego wouldn't allow me to have another photographer's photo on my business card. So he said, do you have others? And I said, yeah, sure. I have others from the concert. He said, well, here's a way that we might be able to, market these. And not market them, but to offer them as, to bid for donations. And I said, oh, yeah, I've done that a couple of times for my kids' school. And, I've done it, but not on a bigger scale. And it's never been this image. So we got, we connected on a couple of things. And he said, I said, I just talked with Jim Keltner and told him about your photos, and I'm setting up a dinner for the three of us.
Oh, I love this. God, put me a fly on the wall for that, man.
Yeah, and I want you to bring your photos.
Oh my gosh.
And Keltner had so many great stories about that night and about why he was there as a second drummer, and
I've documented. I have some quotes from him about playing with Ringo that night. But this is to me, this is where the rubber meets the road, because I want people, when they hear this, to know that the proceeds of this photo are going to this food bank. And what I want you to talk about, because back in 1971, this was about refugees and the division in Pakistan, and
it was about the flooding in the flooding and famine in Bangladesh.
Exactly. But here's the point. This is the crazy thing, man. Like, and I really just want you to articulate. I know you're not. Have you ever? Why do we have so much people? We have people starving in this country, and we produce so much food, and yet there's still kids that are hungry every day. People can't afford the groceries, and yet there wasn't. Have you ever seen this kind of crisis before in our country? Why, in your mind, why do we have this excess, this huge amount of supply, seemingly, that just gets thrown out all the time, and so many people that are deprived of food? I mean, I just feel like that, to me, I want people to know that the money would go towards being able to give people who don't have shelter, who don't have a lot of the things that we all are blessed with, an opportunity to actually eat.
Politically, I honestly, Jake, I think it's become so political.
You mean you mean like the people, the fact that people are like, give me a break. They're homeless. Thing. They're lazy. They don't deserve it. That kind of. I mean, what do you?
Yeah, the politics of it has gotten in the way of the humanitarian side of it, and I think this country lost the humanitarian side of it with the assassinations of John Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, and you can say whatever you want as an anti thing. I know for a fact with the documentaries I've seen on Robert Kennedy that he was very much concerned about that.
Absolutely.
But the thing is that there's a mantra in this country, I think, and it is political, that one of the tools is to keep people ignorant, hungry, and hopeless. And they'll follow whatever. I mean, that's...
You know, man, your spot. I mean, and I would only argue maybe keep them in debt too. You know.
Well, that too, but poor, hungry, that goes hand in hand, I guess.
Right.
But ignorant and hopeless.
Yeah, and they also want people to not be introspective, but lash out at the other or the different ones, or and then put their blame on people that don't look like them, so to speak.
Of course. I mean, it's been.
You've seen that in your whole career.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is that it's how has it affected this idea of food forward, starving people? How has that gotten politicized now? Because it's the difference between the haves and the have-nots. That's what's being laid out. It's going to look when this, for me, politically, I've never seen this country as divided as it is now since I imagine what it was like during the Civil War or before the Civil War. That's how I look at it. And it's even the latest remark coming from 45, X-45, and the remarks he made against members of the tribe.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Just virulent anti-Semitism. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's taken up as the gospel from this. I'm trying not to get political.
It's okay, man. You got it. I mean, the idea that it's somehow gospel to millions, tens of millions of people. That's what's really bothersome.
I know. 70 million people voted for this character.
Yeah.
70 million people. I thought it was bad when people voted for Barry Goldwater.
He was and looks today to be a completely fringe politician compared to 45.
I mean, he's at the least he's a centrist. He was a centrist. But anyway, it's just gotten out of hand, and there seems to be no way to check it.
So
we're looking at what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine, and now what's being done. It's like it's I don't know whose quote it is, but it's man's inhumanity to man.
Absolutely.
So, you see, it's like when you see all these drone shots of the people lined up for food when there was with the natural disasters. Why does that stop? The natural disaster is what you're saying. These people are starving.
Exactly.
They have no food. And why are we throwing stuff out? I mean, I know it seems to me that there are more organizations now than there ever were about feeding those who are...
Food instability is the word I was looking for.
That's food instability. That's the new politically correct phrase.
Exactly. Right.
People who are starved. Oh, you can't say starving anymore. You have to their
Right, exactly. No, that's a whole other ball of wax.
starving is too scary.
It's just like I like to be called a fanatic, but you like to be called passionate. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's just like so. But Cliff, I can just tell that your heart's in the right place, your soul's in the right place. You know that you've gotten breaks in your career. You've made the most of your opportunities. How do you? Because I learned this. I've learned this on my journey is that I can't change the world, but I can affect positive change in my world. And I know you kind of articulated it before, but I just wanted you to talk about how you can. I go back to that Dolly quote, man. Artists inspire other people. They're not necessarily. It's not about them being inspired, and I just want you to talk about how you continue to do that, and what your hope is for this incredible photo for the concert of Bangladesh.
Well, the hope is that there'll be someone who will want to hang this on their wall or donate it to something that it will be viewed by more.
Yeah, donate it to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, here's the thing about this photo. I have tried several times years ago to talk with the curator whom I met when I was doing a shoot there many years ago.
Oh, in Cleveland?
And I'm sorry?
You mean in Cleveland, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Right.
He's not there anymore. I don't know who is there. I've tried. It was during the pandemic, trying to get through because I wanted to say, look, I've got these photos. It's the 50th anniversary of the concert for Bangladesh, the granddaddy of all these benefit concerts, and I want to send you these images. But just all I'm asking is that you cover the cost of printing them and shipping them to you. I don't think I ever heard back from anyone, and I left messages. I know it was during COVID when people were not in the offices, but I got bumped around and hanged around. And when I told them I had the photo that was signed, they said, "Oh no, that's a collector's thing. We don't put those up. We don't do signed photos." And I said, "Well, I have them that aren't signed." And it's.
And they still didn't want those.
No,
it's so there's something there. Going back to what we were just riffing on about just the idea that I don't want to speculate, but just the idea that it was a concert for a country outside of America, that there were world musicians involved with the concert. It doesn't belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in America. That's something about that just feels that way to me. With the way you describe that, not getting any response.
I would not. I don't think I ever went there with that, but it's very possible. Who the hell knows?
Who knows? So I mean,
I don't know.
Let's hope.
Yeah. All I know is that I have these photos. They have been purchased by people who know I have them. I donated one to Breakfast with the Beatles when they were celebrating George Harrison, when they were celebrating the concert of Bangladesh, and I called Chris Carter and I said, whoever wins this next thing you can offer this along with whatever prize they were given. I don't know what it was, but there's some cat won and who lived in the valley, and when I got his information, I packaged up an image and sent it out. So I would love for them to be. Actually, the Grammy Museum here did put about a half a dozen photos on their wall when they did the evening with when the George Harrison film that Scorsese had made was debuting, and they had this huge exhibit on George Harrison, and they took, I think, about 4 or 5 of my photos, and they were on display from the concert.
So we're talking, just to be clear, signed by this. There's the one photo that would go to Food Forward.
Right.
Is the beautiful shot of all the cats in the band signed by five of them.
5. It's signed by, yeah. So it's from left to right. It's the way that it's Billy Preston, Klaus Voormann, Jesse Ed Davis, Ringo, George Harrison, Jim Keltner, Eric Clapton, and Leon Russell. And signed by Klaus. Signed by Klaus, Ringo, Keltner, Clapton, and Leon Russell. Actually, I was in the presence of Leon Russell when he signed it. He was doing a gig at the Roadhouse, whatever that thing is out in the valley.
Yeah, that's. Were you with Doc Rock?
I was with Rob.
Yeah,
I was with Rob that night. Yeah. But when Jim saw the photo and what we wanted to do with it, I made the prints, and let me find a tape measure. I'll tell you how big it is.
Sure.
The one we have is framed that Rob has in his possession.
Oh man, framed, man.
It is framed.
Oh, I love that, dude.
Right. It's framed with a non-glare glass. The image is, well, I can't count the frame is almost 42 inches long by 20 inches, 40 inches wide by 9 inches high? No, 20 inches high. And it's got about an inch and a half border around, and the image itself is almost 3 feet by 14 inches.
Well,
yeah. And it's signed by me, and it is, the one I have is 3 of 5 that exist. So the one and the other ones are, all the other performers got this, I don't know whether they got a smaller, I think they got this size print, and they all signed it. Rob sent when Klaus heard about it, he wanted to sign it, so it went to Berlin, and then when Clapton heard about it, it went to London, and he signed it, and then we got it back. I mean, I would have loved to have gotten everyone to have signed it, but it is what it is.
Hey, I mean, it's the whole thing with Klaus too. It took a long time to get it back, so I'm glad that. I mean, Cliff, we just burned through 80 minutes of a hang here. That was just absolutely classic. And next time I'm out, you guys are out in Los Angeles area?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's definitely grab some coffee and catch a hang, and we'll do another interview. And anything, I'm going to get this interview up later and be cutting up different audio segments of it. But if there's anything else I can do, man, it was just such a high honor to connect with you, man.
Well, it's a pleasure talking with you, Jake. Thank you so much for your interest, and I hope this is the catalyst.
I know. In some, I can just Harrison has come into my consciousness the last few months. I can't say that I was ever a Beatles fanatic. Obviously, I knew they were, and I'm beyond appreciative of what they did, but something's going to happen through this energy, this movement. You just got to get some momentum going. All it takes is one person, and you know what?
Yeah.
And I pray for peace, and I pray that we can move forward as a society. I feel very. I don't feel very good about in 3 weeks what's going to transpire, but I just pray and somehow I hope that. Maybe we need some magic, we need some kind of moondog magic coming through right now.
Moondog magic, I like that. But here's my
Go ahead.
What I keep telling my sons, who are phenomenal musicians in their own right.
Wow.
That when we show up, we win.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, all you can do is vote. The scary part is that That's the one thing they're really trying to manipulate is the person's
Yeah.
ability to vote, which is all we have.
Because they know they don't have the numbers.
That's right.
So they have to manipulate it in order to make sure that the numbers come down, and that it's because it. And I told that I don't want to. I can't get into.
It's fine. No, you know what it is. Do me a favor. Text me or email me a couple of good shots from the Moondog days. Long hair, some of that skin cream commercial stuff. I want to use that as the photo JPEG for the interview. Or send me whatever photo you want. I don't care. It's fine.
Really? Oh my God!
Well, just harken back to the days of Moondog, man, and or even the Jesse Orozco days. I don't care, mid-80s, just something, when you were in the thick of it,
Well, I'll send you.
Send me whatever you want. I'm just kidding around. It's just you've lived a very magical existence, man.
Look. The word that my wife and I both use is grateful. We are very, very.
Gratitude is the attitude, my man.
Yeah, gratitude is the end of it. So where can I hear this and when?
Okay, I'm gonna edit it down, and you'll be the first. Yeah. You'll be the first to get it. I'll text you a link to it. You can stream it, but I need a couple of photos first, so I can put it in I can upload that into the JPEG. But yeah, it'll be up tonight, and we'll blast it out on new. And however we want to use it, we can. Take the choice. I think you said some very salient stuff related to the concert, so I can chop some stuff up. Whatever, however you want to proceed. I'm in it to win it, man.
Okay, great. What's the name of the podcast?
The Jake Feinberg Show, and I'm on Spotify, and a host of others. I'm on YouTube as well, but this will be on. Do you have Spotify or no?
Yeah.
All right, so that'll be the major driving force for that'll be the biggest platform, but it'll be on about 8 different platforms tonight.
Great.
Much love, man, and
just quickly, how
Sure.
do you know Rob? How did you connect with Rob?
Pretty cosmically. I'm trying to think here. That's a great question. I think because I had maybe 7 years ago, I called the LA Musicians Union and asked for Jim Keltner's number. I called it, left a voicemail. Next thing you know, I'm getting a call back from Keltner, and then we've proceeded to do 7 hours of interviews about stuff that nobody's ever. He loves talk. We just have been having a ball, and then at one point he was like, he brought up his Rob Feinfield. I'm like, who is this? Not only do we have similar last names, I was like, who is this cat? So. Immediately, I couldn't believe his devotion to the musicians and what an advocate he is. So, next thing you know, in 2018, I showed up at his office and we did a couple of. I'll send you some stuff. You'll be cracking up. But yeah, it's been a relatively new. But the beautiful thing is, kind of lost contact during COVID. Recently, because of his birthday, I threw up this great clip on Facebook of him talking about this very thing. And at that point, it galvanized him to say, "Let's move on this." And so it's been, it's cosmic, and I just feel like we're going to make this thing happen. So I'm excited.
It sounds like it will come to fruition, my son.
And you have seen these things. You've witnessed these things before, so I'm very confident that it will happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Much love, man.
Man, same to you. Take good care and keep safe.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
All right, brother.
Please.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.